And we need to change the direction of Islam in the West. And the way to change it is to bring it from a level of activism to a level of intellectualism. That is to say, we need to bring the Ummah to a higher intellectual level, where the concern of the Ummah is the study of the Deen and the deliberation on knowledge. Knowledge that belongs to Islamic civilization. Knowledge that stems from the Book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and the way of the ulama. Not a level of activism, because activism is now stemming from a void, from nothing, just from anger. The level of Islamic activities now is based on anger, frustration, complaints. It should stem from understanding of our legacy. And no ummah, no nation in the world would succeed if it abandons its history, its legacy, and turns against it. And this is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment, when the Prophet ﷺ says, لَن تَقُومَ السَّاعَةِ حَتَّى يَلْعَنَ آخِرُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ أَوَّلَهَا. The hour will not come until the last generations of this ummah would curse the earlier generations. And this is what we are witnessing now. Islam has been spreading in the West, and especially in America here in the past 50 years, in the wrong direction, with small exceptions in some communities and some individuals. And we need to change that, to bring the spirit of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, to bring the spirit of the ulama, to bring this great legacy that is almost also disappearing in the Islamic world with the invasion of Western academic institutions, faculties of Sharia and other faculties where everyone can join, Christian, Muslim, non-Muslim, sectarian, from any group can join and get a degree in Sharia. But here in the West we have an opportunity now to spread the way of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, built on civilization, on wisdom, on spiritual growth of the individual, taking care of Islam, Iman and Ihsan, the three together in harmony with people like you, inshallah. But this takes a lot of efforts and takes a lot of sacrifice. If we sit at home and think that Islam is going to spread, no, there are people actually who are distorting the image of Islam and working on the opposite direction. We don't want to engage with them in any fighting, in any conflicts. And I would like to confirm what Shaykh Hamza said here. Our job is to build. And Shaykh Hamza, I reminded him of the poem, The Builders, he knows it. He said it was part of the curriculum people used to memorize here in schools. Longfellow. Anyway, we need to build architects of life, it says in the poem. So we need to build. We need to work, not to engage in fighting. My father gave me this advice, and it's a precious piece of advice. He said, never engage in refutations. And one of the basic pieces of wisdom we learned from the ulama is the following: لا تمكن زائغ القلب من أذنيك. Never lend your ears to a deviator. Never lend your ears to a person of aberrance. Because the moment you give him your ears, then he owns you. He has control over you. That is to say, a drop won't leave any traces on a rock. But continuing, dropping on the same spot, will leave some impact after a while. So just listening. All they need from you is to listen.
Fox News.
Fox News, yeah. I wanted to quote the news. This is actually brainwashing. Yeah. Brainwashing process in the news, in the media. So all they need from you is just to listen. Listening once and again, then will make you convinced that this is the truth. And this is, by the way, this is what is called now situational ethics, or what, just turning to Imam Zaid, what Martin Luther King Jr. called relativistic ethics in one of his famous speeches in the 50s, when he talked about it's wrong because no one is doing it, and it's right because everyone is doing it. This is the situational ethics. So they make you believe that because this is the common discourse, it's right, and everyone is speaking it, because everyone is practicing it, this is right. You go to the mosques now, you find all people practicing a way of prayer or a way of ibadah, often against Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. You speak to people, mostly people are convinced of principles against Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And they make you believe because of the number of people and the common practice and the common discourse that this is correct. We have become actually to a way in Islam almost similar to the Western way. Here that is situational ethics, as it's called now, or relativistic ethics. This is very dangerous. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, karramallahu ta'ala wajhahu wa radiya anh, laid down a rule that I believe it could easily defeat the foundation of modern democracy. And this is very important. People don't pay attention to it. It just destroys the foundation of modern democracy. Referendum, polls, and so on. He says, لا تعرف الحق بالرجال ولكن اعرف الحق تعرف أهله. You want to know the truth? Don't look for the number of people who are embracing the truth. Establish the truth through its proofs and then see who is practicing the truth, who is embracing the truth. لا تعرف الحق بالرجال. It's not by the number of people. All democratic systems now are built on the number of people, the majority of people. And they made us believe that if the majority of Muslims are doing it, then it is right. If no one else is doing it, it's wrong. So I know brothers who learned, for example, their deen to pray the Hanafi way. They go to the mosque, they see everyone is praying in a different way, they start imitating them. They believe they're wrong. They didn't study, just were taught by their parents. So they think they are wrong. So they go to follow just the Salafi way in the mosque because everyone is practicing the other way. No, it's not the opinion of the majority. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defeats this premise in Al-Quran Al-Kareem when He says, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. Not the majority of mankind, even if you persist, will be believers. That is to say, it's not throughout the history of Islam, it's not the majority who are going to be Muslims. Actually, the minority. Throughout the history of humanity. And this has been, beside the Quran, also clarified in sound hadith, as in the Sahihain, for example, the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam says, مَا أَنْتُمْ فِي النَّاسِ إِلَّا كَالشَّعْرَةِ الْبَيْضَاءِ فِي الثَّوْرِ الْأَسْوَدِ أو كالشعرة السوداء في الثور الأبيض. Amongst humanity, amongst people and mankind, you're like a white hair on a dark ball, or a dark hair on a white ball. This is the percentage of Muslims. And the Prophet ﷺ explained this in several other hadiths. In one hadith, he made the proportion on the day of judgment. Out of every 1,000 people, there will be 999 in the fire and one person in Al-Jannah. So we don't take it by number. We don't take it by the majority. We don't take it because it is commonly practiced. We don't take it because everyone is saying it. No, we have to establish the path of truth. And a lot of people will argue with you. So you have to be deaf. The best solution is just to be deaf. لا تمكن زائغ القلب من أذنيك. Allah has given you 2 ears to absorb knowledge. I feel myself, if I hear something, I would pick it up. This is why you have to be always with people who speak the best language, who have the best practices, who tell you things that are good and right. Otherwise, you should actually block your ears. So when someone opens a conversation to argue with you, this is bid'ah or this is sunnah, then say, brother, if they are close to you, relatives or close friends to you, don't open the subject again. I don't want to argue. If they insist, then just leave them. And the problem is they are trained. And the best example I could bring to you from your society here, like Jehovah's Witnesses. They are trained. They know how to present their case. And they present their fallacies in a beautiful way that looks like a real proof. But it's just void of any foundation. But you don't know it. You don't know how to refute it, how to counter argue their premises. So you feel or you think sometimes that, it makes sense. And this is what they want. The first thing is to plant some doubt in your minds. So the best thing is not to listen to them because their fallacies, of course, won't sell in front of the scholars. They won't be able to present their fallacies in front of scholars. This is why they come to people like you. And they are fanatic. They don't want to change the subject. They don't want to change their minds and they don't want to change the subject, according to Winston Churchill. Yeah.